Hello again, everyone. Welcome to Washington Gun Law TV. I'm Washington Gun Law President William Kirk. Thanks for joining us. Hey, we're going to talk about a law that was actually passed in California a couple of years ago. It is now getting closer and closer to fruition. It is, of course, completely insane, but has the ability to disarm large swaths of the state. And of course, because it starts in California, many of you need to pay attention because it's just a matter of time before a law like this ends up on your front porch as well. So today, I'll break it all down for you so you can understand. So let's spend a few minutes and let's talk about this is how states will ban handgun sales. Okay, America, we are going to head down to the state that, of course, is the king of crazies. And, of course, I'm referring to California. And since we're doing a California video, we're going to give a shout out to our first ever California subscriber. Of course, that is Philip P., spreading the gospel of Washington gun law ever since we were rocking a do like this. We're talking about California Senate Bill 452, which was passed way back in 2023. So why are we talking about it now? Well, let's talk about what the bill does. This is California's microstamping, okay? We're talking about microstamping technology. Now, in a nutshell, just so you understand what we're talking about, when we say microstamping, we are referring to when the face of the firing pin strikes the primer or rim of the cartridge case, the unique laser machine code structures engraved on the firing pin are intended to stamp a corresponding impression, a microstamp, onto the cartridge case that could serve as a unique identifier when that cartridge case is recovered at a crime scene. Okay, now, Governor Newsom signed this bill into law back in 2023, and one of the first things that needed to be done was that the Attorney General and the California Department of Justice had to determine by September 1st of 2025 whether or not this is truly viable technology, and which should come as a shock to absolutely nobody. The state of California Department of Justice has determined this is totally cool. As a matter of fact, they released a full 18-page report, which of course we will link up down below in case you guys want to geek out on it for yourself, where they have made the following findings. Based on this investigation, the DOJ has determined that it is technologically viable for microstamping components, engraved firing pins, to imprint a unique microscopic array of characters referred to as a microstamp on spent cartridge cases discharged by a firearm into which the microstamping component has been installed. The DOJ also concludes that engraved firing pins can impart a legible microstamp on expended cartridge cases with regularity, including after sustained or repeated firing. Translation: this is perfectly good technology and it will always work. Again, who is shocked by these findings? California Department of Justice also finds multiple studies discussed in more detail below have found that for most firearms and ammunition types evaluated, microstamping components can transfer all of the information needed to identify a complete microstamp on a majority of cartridge cases discharged by firearms into which those components have been installed. Now, it appears that the study that the Department of Justice conducted recently is just to go back and take a look at all the studies that had previously been done. Most of the studies, of course, published or paid for by companies that were engaged in manufacturing microstamping technology, all right? That, of course, leads California DOJ to find, based on DOJ's review of relevant studies, observations of live fire testing, and input letters received from relevant stakeholders, the answer is yes. Firing pins engraved with microstamp codes have been shown to regularly and successfully transfer identifiable microscopic character information from the firing pin to the expended cartridge case, including after sustained or repeated firing. Okay, and so those findings now set into effect other things that the Attorney General's office does, because California is moving full steam ahead, including the following. On or before September 1st of 2025, provide written guidance on performance standards for persons, associations, partnerships, corporations, or other entities engaged in the business of producing microstamping components. Okay, and then by January 1st of 2026, which is just a few months down the road, California DOJ is mandating Commence accepting applications for licensing such entities that produce microstamping components and meet DOJ performance standards. And then by July 1st of 2026, provide grants or enter into contracts with one or more entities licensed to produce microstamping components that meet DOJ performance standards to make those microstamping components available for sale or other distribution at a reasonable cost to firearm manufacturers. Okay, and if all of that goes into effect, California, you need to be aware then that the law says, commencing January 1st of 2028, California law will require licensed firearm dealers to ensure that semi-automatic pistols sold, offered for sale, exchanged, given, transferred, or delivered by those dealers in California are certified as microstamping enabled by the pistol's manufacturer, a licensed firearms dealer, or a gunsmith that serviced the pistol to install a qualifying microstamping component. Important though, this requirement takes effect only if DOJ has first made two separate determinations regarding 1, the technological viability of microstamping components, which has already been done with this report, and 2, commercial availability of microstamping components and or microstamping enabled firearms. Okay, so effective January 1st, 2028, if this all goes according to California's plans, the only firearms, handguns, that you'll be able to purchase in that state will have to be micro-stamping capable. Now, here's the reality of the situation. If you're a major handgun manufacturer, there is no way on God's green earth that you're going to produce unique firing pins for every single firearm that you produce. You are not going to go through the retrofitting and all of the additional manufacturing cost and materials and everything that would have to go into that. Think about just the Glock handgun company alone. How many firearms they sell in the United States? How many could they sell inside the state of California? Of course, in order to be microstamp capability is the only way you're going to remain on California's handgun roster, so they're going to have that to play as well. And there's just no way on God's green earth that you're going to absorb the expense to do business just in one state. That's as long as it's one state. And then what happens is you have just a handful of manufacturers willing to do this. The state of California can grant monopolies to whomever they wish. And now you're looking at astronomical costs to retrofit a firearm before it actually meets the standards required to be on the California handgun roster. Translation, they have absolutely thwarted any reasonable opportunity you have to arm yourself with a handgun. And then what you have to understand is this is just California. And as we know, bad and crazy gun laws are like untreated cancer. It will metastasize and go wherever it could possibly go. So if you live in any of the other dirty dozen states, buckle up. Buckle up, because this is the battle that you're going to be fighting over the next few years. This is going to be viewed as an opportunity to literally ban sales of large swaths, if not handguns, in their entirety to ensure complete and utter civilian disarmament. Okay, America, once again, it's California Senate Bill 452. The penal code that is being amended by all of this is California Penal Code Section 27532. We'll link them both up down below so you can geek out on it for yourself. You don't have to take our word for it. Now listen, if you got any other questions about this or anything else related to what's left of our Second Amendment rights, you guys should know how to get a hold of Washington gun law by now, but if you don't, that's okay. That information's down in the description box. If you got an idea for a video we should be doing around here, cool. You click on that link right there and you tell us all about it. If you want to subscribe to the monthly newsletter, the ability to do that is down there in the description box. And then finally, and most importantly, let's everyone remember that part of being the lawful and responsible gun owner, like we talk about all the time here, is to know what the law is in every situation and how it applies to you in any instance that you may find yourself. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay safe.